So are we back?
In the studio? I think
I mean,
so.
it's Monday, right? So
I mean, I think I recognize this place. If it wasn't for the color, you could have fooled me.
we should freak people out completely and just switch places once.
They're gonna sit watching on you. It's like, I can't focus.
Yeah.
And maybe you do a colored shirt and I do white.
They would fall off the bike.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
I like that trend. It's happening now. And if you're listening and you're on the bike, go faster. Go faster. You can do it.
You can do it.
I love it. But today we're gonna get into story time. We're gonna talk about some aha moments over the last, I guess, 7-8 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Really, the aha moments around go-to-market. And when we're talking about go-to-market, it's not hey, this is the ICP and how to define it. It's not, messaging, all that. Basically every blog post or template you're gonna find. That's not what we're gonna do today.
Talking about GTM, right? That's what it's saying. Kind of if you Google GTM, you'll always find ICP definitions. You will find messaging and so forth, right?
Yeah, but people just don't Google anymore. They ask AI.
That's right.
So that's the thing. But it's gonna tell you probably the same thing, unless you're really good at prompting. Fortunately, you don't need to prompt anyone today. That's my job. I'm gonna prompt you for hopefully some great stories. Oh man, that was good. So we have 3 distinct aha moments that you yourself have experienced.
Yeah.
I think I've been involved in probably 2 of them. Not directly, but I was there. I just want to point it out. I was there. I was there. And the first one we should go into.
Yep. So, and this is, this one is a bit of a funky one. Probably all the enlightened listeners we have will be like, okay, no, we know that, Tony. Thank you
if
very
you
much.
listen to the 40 plus
that's
episodes.
right. But then there are, and it's still flabbergasting for me. It's how many people are seeing the world like this, and some are actually having success with it.
Yeah.
But just be really honest, some folks, for some it does work out, which is this whole number of AEs times their quota equals the revenue that you're gonna hit, minus a productivity adjustment. And the story here really is that when we started the company, when I joined, we had a couple of sales reps, and then there was a question: how much revenue are we gonna hit? Right? So we had that question, and you do some Googling, and you can still do the same Googling, and you will still get the same answer, by the way, which is, well, it's really easy. And honestly, go to Christoph Janssen's, KPIs for SaaS. Go to any Medium post. Go to any venture capital website that has a blog attached. They will all tell you that stuff. And it really leads you down the wrong path, because you believe, if those people are telling me that this is how it works, then obviously it should work like that. So really, I'm not even blaming anyone for this. What I've seen increasingly so is that this is a narrative that is especially useful for finance, right? Because what they're really trying to figure out is, okay, we're kind of needing to get to this number. How many reps do I need?
Yeah.
And then, now we have that, now done.
Yeah.
Check mark. Now sales just do that. And I think many go-to-market leaders intuitively, and or more than intuitively, have already understood that this is not how it works, right?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, what we did was Excel spreadsheet, 5 reps. We gave them a quota. Then we had a long discussion in the boardroom. Should it be 80% productivity, 70% productivity, maybe 75, maybe 65? Based on data? No. Based on just what do we feel like? And then we said, okay, so this is what it's going to be. And then obviously we went off and we're like, so what if we increase quotas?
Magic.
Or what if we just hire 10 more of those reps? Or what if we figured out a magic way to shorten ramp? And this is kind of I think the hallmark, and this is how you identify really quickly if an organization is thinking like that, is when everyone is consumed by pipeline reviews, forecast numbers, AE comp plans, these kind of AE attrition numbers, oh, they really need to be here for 4 years, otherwise it doesn't work. If you have conversations in an organization, and those are the, when you talk about revenue, those are the main things you're talking about, you're kind of in that camp here. And again, going back to the story, we basically kind of did that. We had those AEs, we gave them a quota, we had a ramp expectation, yada yada.
And hit 12 quarters in a row.
And that's exactly what that was, the aha moment. And obviously, we didn't. And it fell apart, not immediately. It worked out for a while, by the way, but it fell apart when basically Series A or Series B money, I forgot, hit. And like, okay, now let's take all of that cash and scale it up.
Double down.
Which then meant, okay, we need to hire 25 more sales reps, and we need to kind of do this and we need to do that. And suddenly the productivity of all of them dropped, and we couldn't figure it out. And all of them are losers, and need to be fired, and need to be managed harder. And again, this is the stuff that you would be talking about all the time. And then obviously around that, lots of analysis happening, lots of QBR stuff happening. And in that realization, we then had like a graph of, this is how opportunities are going, this is how our revenue is going, and this is how our quota is going.
Yeah.
And guess what? 2 out of them were pretty aligned. The other one wasn't.
Yeah.
and that's where we realized, squinting real hard at the chart, that like, wait a minute, maybe opportunity on revenue is a better predictor, if you will, than quota on the street and revenue. And that was kind of, okay, so I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
And then, we had this conversation, we had a couple of QBRs, after one another, and we realized a couple of those numbers stayed the same. Conversion rate was 15% or whatever. And it was 15% the next month and the next quarter and so forth. And we're like, that's pretty boring. It's a boring number to report on.
Because it never changes.
It never changes.
Nothing's new.
Boring. So there's no story you can tell. But then the aha moment really was when I think we booked, 10 meetings in a day.
Yeah.
And then the CEO was like, okay, so you guys told me that we have a whatever conversion rate. So out of those 10 meetings, one of them is going to be a customer, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the wait a minute, I think now we get this. And then this is immediately after when kind of some of the then modeling started. It's like, okay, well, it's 10 on Monday, but it's also 10 on Tuesday, and and so forth. And then we figured out that wait a minute, if we then attach the conversion rate and the ACV, basically the revenue formula. Then we get to that revenue number, and that then actually helps us, right? And this was one of those aha moments, and you can basically say, and maybe that's true, maybe that's not true, but you could basically say that this is to a degree a first principles kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Where's revenue really coming from?
Yes.
Is it an AE that just magically kind of creates it? Or does it come from a bunch of prospects that are going through a buying journey, and obviously the latter part. And then once you tie this whole thing together, then you realize, okay, what do I need AE quota for then? Well, you need it as capacity.
Yeah.
You need them to work through all of those prospecting journeys. And that was kind of a big aha moment for us, right? And suddenly a lot of focus shifted away from those AEs. Sure, there was still what's the best comp plan and what's the best this and what's the best that. But very much, okay, how can we get more opportunities? How can we spend more money, get more opportunities?
It's funny because I've been researching in particular capacity planning, which also deals with what is the quota, etc. You like the capacity you need. The most sophisticated capacity plans, they account for attrition. But it doesn't take it down to the level of supply, because you do have the capacity to close, but are you effectively supplying so that capacity can be utilized? And I think that's just that's where the modeling piece really comes in helpful.
No, exactly, and it really is then also a it's a bit of a shift in the organization that then happens once not only you, but let's just say the broader management team realizes this thing. There's a bit of I think the account executives will be a bit dethroned to a degree. It's like not them with the magic necessarily anymore. You suddenly kind of start distributing things. You suddenly start realizing that you really need to celebrate the opportunity generating pieces of the organization. Suddenly kind of think about, okay, how can we celebrate SDRs? How can we celebrate marketing? How can we celebrate, CS that sometimes then also creates opportunities, right? Instead of only this, the top of the leaderboard, last day of the quarter, completely misforecasted, but then slams in 10 deals and we hit target, right? Which is cool. But it's not actually what got us there, right? And I think that was a massive aha moment that you can even build out to then, traffic and ads and leads and even further, which we'll get into one other learning here.
And so this was mid-market sales-led motion, obviously heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy this one. I think maybe it's going to be a different aha moment if it's enterprise, right? That's different.
I think aha moment for enterprise. So what's kind of interesting is that as your sales cycle expands, as you're looking at 12 months, 15 months or whatever, which is like an enterprise motion, some of the predictability is inherently part of your forecasting conversation, right? Because it's you have those 10 deals and they're expected to close between the next 9 and 15 months, and that's what you will need to focus on, right? It totally makes sense. But the shorter that time frame becomes down to a week or something like that, the more you need to think about the volume that needs to come in and being processed, right? And again, right, if you have an enterprise motion, you will likely have only a few deals you're juggling at the same time.
Yeah.
And you likely will kind of say like, this whole conversion rate thing, I don't actually care, because those are the deals that are there, and I scanned all of them. Again, right? This is if the pieces aren't that many. I scanned all of them, and what? I really like this one. What's the next step here? Fred. I don't know why I
hate
Fred. Fred is fuck Fred. No, exactly. That's kind of how that works, right?
Okay, cool. So that was number one aha moment. We have another one which is a little bit different.
Yeah. So me and you company, and it was a sales-led inbound motion, selling 2,000 to 3,000 euro deals per year. So ACV of 2 to 3K, and CAC payback worked out. And I was sitting there looking and staring at the numbers, and something in my brain broke looking at this. How can that work out? Right? And honestly, I talked with, back then and with Olafur about it. I talked with people about it. It's like, I just don't understand that. How is that even possible? Right? And I looked at all the numbers, conversion rate and ACV and sales cycle. And I just couldn't figure it out until it kind of made click for me. Aha moment, there you go. Which was that, so first of all, for this to work out, obviously you need to have super high conversion rates, and we are talking 40 to 55% conversion rates. So super high. At first I thought like, okay, what they're doing is they're sandbagging the opportunity, basically waiting super long until they create the opportunity, working off the lead level basically, because it was a full cycle AE motion in that sense. So first thing I did, pulled an MDR role, so marketing development, inbound SDR role basically to, create a handover, synthetic handover actually, but to have a better grip on the opportunity production, which then gave me a very clear conversion rate number. And guess what? The conversion rate number was still the same. Maybe a little bit lower now because we followed up on more deals actually, and got them in, so that was pretty good. And it still couldn't kind of then figure it out. So wait a minute, it's still 40-50% conversion rate. How can that be? And then I basically talked to some of the reps, talked to the MDRs, listened to some of those calls. And here it comes, listen to some of those calls. And what I figured out was all of these people they already made the decision to buy.
So what do you need sales for?
So they basically landed most of them were like, oh no, I use this tool and the other 3 restaurants are open. I need to do it here as well. And
Yeah.
it wasn't an upsell or expansion conversation. It was a net new account for sure. But basically, this is the tool.
Yeah.
I need to buy it now.
Yeah.
Can you send me a contract? And the realization was that basically the decision was already done. There was a bit of haggling going on, I got a really good deal last time. Can I get it? And what we realized, if there were any kind of questions, they were very much how-to questions.
Yeah.
Can you just jump into the demo and this is my setup? How would that actually work with this software? And that was the whole sales process, right? And what we then did, and that worked out to varying degrees, we basically kind of then realized, okay, this is not a sales conversation where people need to, this is why you want to have it, that's the value, all of that stuff. It really became a little bit more like a, in sales we sometimes call it an order taker role. Basically, if you work at McDonald's and someone says like, I want to have the cheeseburger, you don't go and it's like, so the value of the cheeseburger, why, tell me about your pains. Is it hunger? Yeah. How much would it be worth to you if I could solve that problem for you? You don't have those conversations because it's like, no, I'm hungry. I need this thing. And this is, pain is done for me.
No, also they have PLG now. They literally have tablets where you go up and like, boop, boop, boop. There's no sales staff anymore.
That's right. It's PLG. Let's call it PLG.
Yeah, it's PLG.
No, and that's what we then did, right? It was like, hey, this is stuff that people can figure out. And we kind of eased it in with product-led sales.
Yeah.
So with some interaction, then some part of a completely PLG, that worked out pretty nicely. It's obviously difficult to phase that in.
Yeah.
Going from sales to PLG, difficult to execute, and then obviously the idea was to take those sales reps and focus them on bigger deals.
Yeah.
That legitimately had question, maybe even outbound deals, where it wasn't I already made the decision. It's like, no, fuck no, I haven't made the decision yet. So, why would I buy this? And using kind of those sales resources for that instead, right? And obviously bunch of issues with that. If you take an order taker team, and by the way, they're all great folks, by the way, I don't want to upset anyone. But if you take someone or a team that is trained on that motion and then throw them into a higher ACV and outbound, very difficult to pull that off.
Yeah.
That could have been another aha moment here, but that was basically one of the things where it was like, you know what, that probably was one of the reasons why some of that didn't work out so smoothly. But on the PLG side, that was definitely the right call and ended up actually being a very strategic piece in the GTM that was extremely important for then the acquirer to say like, okay, because, that's where we want you to go. And please demo to us that you have that already, and and we did, and that was a big nice check mark.
I think it's particularly interesting because you've talked about on LinkedIn the different motions that make sense depending on the ACV, and this was basically the exception to that rule, because of the conversion rate.
Yes, and to be honest, I mean, obviously, kind of this spectrum of hey, those are the different motions per ACV. There's some caveats around that. But basically, if you have such a strong brand where people just are repeat customers to a degree, not upsell, but still, I've worked with this. I was a waitress in this place where we had that, and I know how to do it. And now I'm the manager or something to set it up. There was like lots of no questions asked kind of purchases, right? And then that works, but probably doesn't for some other inbound motions in that sense.
Cool. So basically moving towards PLG.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, and also kind of basically trying to figure out this this DNA of this setup and how it worked. And there was one other thing which kind of leads to kind of the third one was really using Google Ads a lot.
Yeah.
And it really was also then a very much a even the acquired traffic was ready to buy. I need this software for this area. Enter.
Credit card details.
And then you had those 3 options, and one of them, and So basically, that's why that kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But then also ended up being extremely difficult to scale this out, right? Because and this is almost then the third learning here is and we had this. I had this in both of the different companies, which was basically okay. Marketing team, please spend just more on ads. I need more leads.
Yeah. Give me more.
Give me more.
Yeah.
And then the realization. The problem really was that in the first company I didn't really fully get it. I was like, why don't we just spend more?
I can attest to it.
But then in the next one it was diving into our marketing spend in on a channel level, and then basically having conversations. And it feels stupid now, but I think not everyone has gotten there. I think that's how we feel about every aha moment. Once you had
totally.
it, it's like, oh, wow, I was really stupid back then. But basically kind of, I dove into the different marketing channels. Google Ads, obviously top of the list. And we played around with Facebook, but, didn't work.
Yeah.
These kind of things. And then basically, okay, so Google Ads, that works. Review pages, review sites, that works. Stimia. Literally, he was my guy there.
Yeah.
To spend more on Google Ads.
Yeah.
Spend more on Google Ads, and then he's like, "Okay, boss." But very quickly, like I don't know where to spend more.
Yeah. I've been there.
It's like all the campaigns, they're optimized, but they're also as much reach. We're everywhere. Like average rank is 1.5, or whatever that's called. Quality scores, whatever. Landing pages are optimized, and there was just not much more to do to squeeze, blood.
It's like you're sending him to the marketplace and say, hey, so last time you got 10 bottles of wine, I'm gonna double your money. You're gonna bring back 20. It's like, but they only have 10 bottles at the market. What can I do?
You basically purchase the whole market every time, but yeah. And so this was a bit of a aha moment for me. It was like, okay, so how am I supposed to scale this thing?
Yeah.
Because that was really the only channel that was established and was working, and aside from some of the upsell pieces, and then the realization was, well, in step one, you always go to the intent channels.
Yeah.
Those are, by the way, also the ones that you can nicely track. And intent channels are obviously Google search and Bing search.
Yes.
Review sites, and in our case, app stores. So on your phone, the Android store or the Apple store, kind of running ads there. Those are the places where someone is searching for something which equals intent to a degree.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of money there in order to capture as much as possible, and then it's really a CAC payback game. It's like how much do you want to spend versus what you're getting from it.
Yeah.
Right. But once that's exhausted, and we were active in some of the Nordic markets, in Germany, a little bit in the UK. Once that is exhausted, you kind of where to go next, right? And then the next items are then Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of those different channels. But you can't just throw buy my product.
No.
Ads on that thing.
I was gonna say, it's so funny. People say, "Oh, Facebook doesn't work." You know what? The buyers, they are there. They do use this thing called Instagram, Messenger, etc. Yeah. Maybe it's just you haven't figured it out yet.
No, exactly. And there was kind of a bunch of aha moments around that. I think one of that was, I think it's called The Long and the Short of It. It's kind of a research paper. Two physicists, of all people, doing research on brand spend versus sales spend. And they the research question, I mean, it's very nerdy. The research question that they were trying to solve is, in your ads budget, how much money should you be spending on brand versus how much money should you be spending on sales?
Yeah.
And what they found out through something that looks extremely rigorous, I can't really comment on more than that. 60% should be leaning brand, 40% should be leaning sales. And they have some cool graphs. Kind of brand is the long-term thing. slow start, but compounding over time. Since sales gives you like spikes, but
Yeah.
those spikes always stay the same height, so to speak. So you really combine them in an optimal way. As a caveat, they were largely looking and focusing on B2C brands back then, basically kind of big retailers, and sales for them is like issuing kind of discount codes and
Yeah.
triggering people, right? So is it completely adaptable to B2B SaaS? Maybe not. I was at least part of 2 agency pitches where they led with that research,
Yeah.
and we're like, yeah, this is what it is, and it's like, okay, but this is actually B2C brands that they're using there, and no one had a good answer for that. But anyway, so I think this was kind of one kind of piece of research and work where I like, okay, so this is how this marketing thing actually works,
Yeah.
right? And to a degree, your bottom of the funnel spend on ads for Google and for review sites, that is the discount sales
Yeah.
bit. And all of those spikes in terms of your, spending money on that,
Yeah.
it won't go up unless for some magic reason, more people go to the marketplace suddenly, which
Yeah.
usually isn't the case. So you can spend whatever amount of money you want to, you will always cap out on the same thing. And then really on the brand side, and this is where it then started edging for me into, demand gen. That's, now I fucking get it. Is really then the, there are a bunch of people that are within your ICP that maybe don't know that there's a solution.
Yeah.
That maybe aren't even aware that they have a problem yet, because they have been, in this case, they've been running their schedule for waitresses for 25 years
On paper.
on the chalkboard
Yeah.
that they have in the office,
Yeah.
and it works.
Yeah.
So
What's the problem? Come on.
they're not gonna wake up one morning and be like, scheduling software in Google.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no. That then kind of was in the realization, okay, so if this is our ICP potentially here, because obviously all of them have a phone and a laptop, and all of that obviously is there. If that's our ICP, they will never go on Google search to try and find this, because they have done this successfully for 25 years. They don't have a problem.
Yeah.
So demand generation then really is, and I don't want to butcher this now, but you need to sell the problem,
Yeah.
right? And this was one of the other advice I got from a investor of our CMO of a large multiple unicorn kind of guy. And he was like, well, in B2B, you need to spend 50% of your budget on selling the solution,
Yeah.
and 50% on your budget on selling the problem.
Yes. and it by the way will also fundamentally change the strategy you deploy on those channels. So if you go back to Facebook and someone comes and says, hey, I need more leads, here's a bag of money put on the table, or credit card probably, then the problem is they will look at the strategies they're running today, bottom funnel. So it's going to be a demo that just gets served way more with fewer people clicking on them, versus if it's, hey, let's educate on the problem. Then all of a sudden it's very different, the approach you will take. You will talk about, hey, aren't you tired about someone accidentally wiping out the chalkboard and then you don't have the plan anymore?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. It changes.
No, but it even goes further than that, because we had conversations. I don't think we ever executed on this, but we had conversations like, okay, so this guy with glasses, big belly, running around in a apron all day, in some restaurant, mid-50s, bald. Basically,
you're describing me. I was like, I'm just waiting for
it. Is he on his phone and checking out Instagram?
I have no clue. I don't know the guy.
And the realization was like, we're talking like very low digitalized, folks here. They probably have the radio running all day.
Yeah.
They probably read the local newspaper. They probably have they probably watch TV, by the way.
Yeah.
They have completely different, means than all of us digital, and let's do, all of those cool things here, those growth hacks.
Yeah.
No, actually, if you want to reach those people, you then need to have a radio jingle or something like that. And that realization, right? And guess what? On that radio jingle, there's not going to be a button you can click.
No.
That says, request demo. There's not going to be an attribution that says, someone, down here in Nordrhein-Westfalen in Germany click this button and is now a lead. No, you won't have that, right? And really this whole attribution thing is really just a thing that, magic that happened in the last, couple of years, obviously, pretty fantastic. But large parts of how people are consuming the world is still not through this phone or the laptop. It's like 1,000 other things. Can you attribute those? No, you can't. And that was kind of the other aha moment. It's like, well, in order to then activate or unlock a new growth lever for that organization that isn't only depending on Google Ads, you need to do demand gen. And that's a whole different game suddenly, right? It requires lots more creativity because you can't reuse the same landing page all the time. You need to figure out where those people actually are. You need to figure out, what the message is for that channel and so forth. It's a completely different game, and that is though what's necessary in order to unlock and some people say the 97% of the market that's not actually looking for anything. That really sits there, right?
And it's also powerful because you buy basically top of mind or mind share effectively, right? So when it comes to actually acknowledging that there's a problem and you need a solution, guess who they will think about, and that's also
exactly. But this is also then the agency pitch, by the way, which is, well, you're selling really a problem. You're not hardcore selling the solution. So when they're looking for the solution, then you kind of want to create your own category. Because then they land in that category. And it's only going to be you and maybe a few fringe other players. So whom are they going to choose? You. So if you, and we had this in outbound happen with this company, by the way. We kind of cold called into the market. We built, and outbound is a wonderful demand gen channel, by the way. And we created the problem like, hey, don't you want to do this? And blah, blah, blah. And by the way, this was like 250 people accounts. It was not the small cafe. And they're like, oh, geez. Yeah, you're right. I need a tool for this. And then they trialed with us, but then they also trialed with our competitors. And they're like, actually, thanks for educating me, but I think these guys actually solved the problem. So that's then the rationale for why you want to create your own category is really that if you do demand gen and these folks then search, you're the only one or the leader at least in the space. And then it's, large part of the traffic goes to you directly. And then the other theory behind is that people skip search altogether and go to you directly, right? And it's like, whatever.
And I think it's also that, so it's the first law of marketing by the 10 immutable laws of marketing by Al Ries and Jack Trout, I think. So they talk about find a category you can be first in. That's the number one rule, which is this is heavily a part of. And I think it's going to be much like building almost an enterprise motion. This will take you 12 to 16 months until you have something up and running because you're going to have to experiment. And the thing is also it takes time. So we know that from a lead to a closed one, it will usually be 190 days. And you need to now go and build even higher up in the funnel and experiment a lot. And then seeing the results, it will take time. Will take a lot of time.
So don't fire that marketing guy immediately.
No, exactly. Especially if he's bald and is his 50s, you said? I'm not. I just want to say for the record,
I'm 10 years.
Yeah.
I got me in 50s, 10 years?
Oh, no. No. Thank God. I'm not. I'm still young.
It's about how you look, Mikkel.
Yeah,
don't take it personal.
But I am at the point now when, when you walk through the kitchen and then you step just slightly wrong and you just hurt
your whole
your
back
foot.
hurts.
Yeah, and it's like, what happened? And everyone comes running. Are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm just old now. It's terrible. Terrible. So 3 aha moments.
Yes.
I think they were pretty cool, especially because I was involved in one of or two of the aha moments. Always interesting to share some stories. And hopefully some point soon in the future, we're going to be able to share some cool stories because we're off to a work trip. We're going to Sweden. Let's not talk about what we're going to do yet.
No, it's super secret.
It's super... super secret. But you know what? If you want to be the first one to know, we have the revenue letter. We are probably going to share some stuff there as the first place.
You can find the sign up link on my LinkedIn profile. If you're interested.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mikkel. Thank you, everyone else. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.